Shalom, welcome to Eretz Israel. It's Erev Shabbat here, and we are getting ready for the holy day. My name is Avraham Shira, and I'm happy to be able to reach out to you today. I've been looking through some of the teachings of the holy Arizal, the great Kabbalist from Tzfat from 500 years ago, and he's telling us a very interesting thing, that the mitzvah of the union of a man and his wife on Shabbat is not just to bring children. We understand that. Of course, when a couple wants to have children, it's a very, very high on the priority list. But there's another mitzvah, listen closely, of being together with one's spouse on Shabbat, because it mitkayem olamot, it establishes worlds. It creates a permanency between the physical and the spiritual. It unifies the upper realm because of the actions of holy people here in the physical realm. Now, it's not something we often think about, that our actions actually give stability in heaven. Most of the time we think about this world as the world of chaos, and the upper world is the realm of order, structure, law, clarity, purity, vision, knowledge, the absolute presence of God. And down here we have all the opposite things: the chaos, the disorder, the hiddenness, the confusion, the falsehood. All those things that we suffer from are down here. What the Arizal is teaching us, though, that when we do this particular mitzvah in holiness, we are establishing the spiritual world as well. Now, how does that take place? Well, you see, when a man and a woman get together, they are returning creation to its original point. They are bringing the male and female aspects of the original soul of Adam back to where it began. Because Adam, the original man, was both male and female at his inception. And so when a man and a woman are together in holiness on Shabbat, they have returned to the first day of creation. They have returned to the original structure and design of the human soul. And that return is actually not just that we are mimicking ideas, that we are following a pattern of teaching from a book. It's not just that. Those things are true, but they're absolutely secondary. What's important is that we are not just engaging in a activity for our own pleasure, for our own health, to have a good relationship, etc., but rather we are reuniting the forces of creation, and that causes new life force to come into the world. And that new life force is neither male nor female. It is the unification of the two, which precedes the diversity of creation. Because God himself was one with creation, was one before he created the world. Now he's still one, but there's a distinction, because before creation there was no concept of evil. There was no concept of negativity. There was only good. All good, complete good, universal, eternal good. And then God wanted to create someone to talk to, someone to have a good time with, someone to build Eretz Israel with, someone to spread out the human race all over the planet. He created man. So at the inception of the idea of creating man, God was already causing a separation from his original unity. And then when he created man, he said, well, man can't be alone. He needs aselo ezer kenegdo. I will make a helpmate. I will take his best part, his essence, and I will make that into a woman. But it's still part of Adam. So those two concepts were originally one within the complete structure and unity of creation. Then they're created Adam, and then Adam and Eve are split, male and female. And then I think a lot of you know how the story goes. Trouble in the garden. But the truth is that every Shabbat, when a husband and wife are together with holiness and love, purity, they are returning creation back to the way it was supposed to be in the beginning. And that is awesome unto itself, right? That's awesome that we have that opportunity. If our consciousness and our physicality and our spirituality are all one, then that happens. But what's even more awesome was what the Arizal is saying. We are causing the world to continue to be, to Mekayem Olamot. Now, how do you know this? How do I know this is true? Well, I'll tell you a few ways. Number one, you feel alive. You feel life force. You sleep less. You're more aware. Your mind works better. Your relationships flow smoother. You have compassion for others that you might not normally always have compassion for. All these things are signs of new life's force coming into your soul. But where is it coming from? Well, we could say it's coming from heaven. Very nice. No, but it's coming from the activity that we cause heaven to receive the power that we give into our mitzvot, and that brings the power back down. So there's a cyclical energy pattern here that we give with our positive deeds, especially this first primary mitzvah, Peru Revu, right? The be fruitful and multiply is the first commandment for the entire world. When we do that, we actually give life force to creation to reunify itself, and that causes the union of any two worlds causes a third thing to be born from it. And that union becomes new life force in you and in your relationship. And so what looks like a mitzvah that God gave us because, we're physical beings and we have bodies and we have necessities and, that sounds like a good enough reason, right, to mikayem this mitzvah. But when we understand what the Arizal is writing at the internal level of creation, it changes everything. We understand how central human activity is to the entire creation. That we are not lone wolves out there on the range. We're not just an apparent rogue species that made it through evolution to survive and all these other absurd ideas. We are the point from which creation receives life force and then creation gives it back to us. We see this in the beginning where Rashi, the great commentator, tells us there was no rain until Adam prayed for it. Now, God could easily have made it rain without Adam. But the idea is that Adam had the power of speech to trigger the rain, to trigger the life force to come back to the earth in the form of water. So that idea works well in the parameters of what we're talking about here today, about the union of the physical and the spiritual, and the male and the female on Shabbat. Now, there's a lot of laws that are connected to these ideas and practices and customs, and it's really important to learn them for a person to conduct himself properly. The rabbis say in the Talmud that if a man marries his daughter to an unlearned person, a person who doesn't know the laws of being with a woman, of how to treat a woman, of how to respect her, it's like throwing her to the lions. Now, that's not a happy day at the zoo. And no man would want to give his daughter to the lions. So we have to learn. We have to learn these basic ideas of how to engage in a way that is respectful, passionate and compassionate, understanding and patient. There's all the qualities that we need seem to come together in this particular very important event. So Shabbat night is the night that God ordained for this mitzvah. And there's a lot of details over there that I don't want to go into now because everybody's at a different level of practice. It's good to know the level of the practice of the Mekubalim, of the Kabbalists, because they set the bar. Now, not everybody's at the bar, but once we know the bar, we can be honest with ourselves, where we're holding. But nonetheless, when we learn the laws on the inside, we automatically create favor and grace in our practice of Torah, in our practice of relationships, and that, it changes everything from the inside out. And that inside out change is what we're after, that as Jews. The outside change is only a ramification of what's going on the inside. So it really is the inside that counts. And that's why Yaakov Avinu was blessed with Tal HaShamayim first, the dew of heaven, before the Shmanei Aretz, the oils of the land. Because the Tal of heaven, the dew of heaven, is the intellectual power of the mind to conduct oneself in a way that makes the planet an awesome place to live. It all depends on us, but it starts within. And we have to start within, we have to learn. We need to learn these laws. And these are the types of laws that are usually learned privately with the rabbi, one-on-one, maybe one with your spouse, each person at their level. But when you do, you bring blessing into your life, into your relationship, and into your family, and you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference in your children. If you conduct yourself with holiness on these nights of this great mitzvah, you will have different quality children because they receive the garments. Children receive their souls from the garments of their parents' thinking. It's like the seed comes in to a vessel. That vessel is is influenced, I should say, by a person's thinking and their feeling and their attitude and their behavior at the moment that the seed comes in. And so you can look at your children and know where you were. And you can look at your children and understand our own repair and our own tikkunim in this world from this very mitzvah. So this is very important, especially to a young couple who's just starting their family. But even if you're already, you got a white beard, worried about having more children, the mitzvah still keeps the world's channeling and processing infinite light into the finite, and from the finite back to the infinite, and the endless figure eight of the cyclical pattern of energy of heaven and earth is continued. So I want to bless everybody with that holiness, with that consciousness, with that understanding of how important these things are. The Torah is not an oppressive document to control us. It is a spiritual guide to reach the highest levels of human potential. And that's what we're here for. So we should be blessed to actualize our potential on Shabbat in holiness through all the mitzvot of Shabbat, especially this first mitzvah of the Torah. And we look for you again this week on Facebook and YouTube, on Patreon, on Insight Timer, on the Lighthouse program, on Web Yeshiva. We start a new semester on Kingship. So on all these platforms, we're putting it out there, and hopefully we'll see you again. God bless you all. Shabbat Shalom.